Stop. You haven't subscribed to the channel yet. Subscribe now. We have new stories every day. Now, let's go. The charcoal sizzled as Rowan flipped the burgers with practiced ease. The ocean breeze carried the aroma across the private beach, mingling with the salty air. He glanced up, squinting against the sun to watch his family by the shoreline. "Daddy, watch me." Toby waved frantically, his small frame bouncing up and down at the water's edge. Rowan smiled and waved back. "I see you, buddy. Be careful." His son's laughter was the purest sound in the world. At 7, Toby had Rowan's eyes and determination, but none of the hardened edges that military service and a failing marriage had carved into his father. Vanessa stood ankle-deep in the water, her designer swimsuit probably costing more than Rowan made in a week restoring boats. Next to her, Dolores Weston, Vanessa's mother-in-law and perpetual thorn in his side, sipped from a glass of Chardonnay, her critical eyes constantly finding fault with everything Rowan did. "Toby, come here, darling," Dolores called. "Let grandmother teach you how to find shells properly." Rowan checked the meat thermometer, but his attention remained split. Something felt off about today's gathering. Lionel and Ingrid had arrived an hour ago, with their usual condescending remarks about Rowan's quaint work restoring classic boats. They now lounged under an expensive cabana, occasionally whispering and looking his way. And there was Adrian Doyle, Vanessa's ex-boyfriend from college, who had mysteriously shown up to this family-only barbecue. Rowan hadn't missed the familiar way Adrian touched Vanessa's arm, or how she laughed at his jokes. A genuine laugh Rowan hadn't heard directed at him for years. "Need any help, Rowan?" Adrian approached the grill, expensive sunglasses pushed into his perfectly styled hair. "Got it covered," Rowan replied, not bothering to look up. "Must be nice, right? Doing something simple with your hands after all that unpleasantness overseas." Rowan took a deep breath. He'd spent years as a Marine in active combat zones, and somehow this trust fund kid made him want to punch something. "Food's almost ready," he said instead. "Mind telling everyone?" Adrian smirked like he won something and walked away. Rowan returned his attention to the shoreline, where Dolores was now leading Toby and Vanessa toward deeper water. The wind picked up slightly, forcing Rowan to adjust the grill's temperature. The propane tank's age was showing, and it ran low. He needed to switch it before finishing. "Darn it," he muttered, stepping away to grab the spare tank from the beach house. The task took less than 5 minutes, but a sudden burst of laughter drew his attention back to the water. Dolores, Lionel, Ingrid, and Vanessa stood waist-deep, laughing about something. Adrian had joined them, a beer in hand, but Toby was nowhere to be seen. Rowan scanned the shoreline, his heart rate quickening. "Where's Toby?" he called, approaching the water's edge. Vanessa turned, annoyance crossing her features. "What? Toby? Where is he?" Rowan's voice grew firmer as he waded into the surf. Dolores waved dismissively. "Relax, Rowan. He's fine. He'll come back on his own." "What do you mean, come back? Where is he?" Nobody answered directly, but Lionel pointed vaguely toward the open water with his drink. "Kid wanted to swim. He's got arm floaties on." Rowan's blood ran cold. He pushed past them, scanning the waves. That's when he saw a small figure drifting far out, barely visible among the swells. "Toby!" His scream tore through the party atmosphere. Without hesitation, Rowan bolted into the waves, diving under the first large swell and emerging on the other side. His military training kicked in, powerful strokes cutting through the water with desperate speed. "Daddy!" The faint cry was barely audible over the rush of water, but it fueled Rowan's adrenaline. The distance seemed impossible. Toby was drifting farther out, caught in a current pulling him toward open sea. One of his arm floaties had deflated, leaving him struggling to stay above water. "Hold on, buddy. I'm coming." Rowan's lungs burned, but he pushed harder, ignoring the ache in his muscles. A wave crashed over Toby just as Rowan closed the final yards. For a heart-stopping moment, his son disappeared from view. Rowan dove beneath the surface, the salt water stinging his eyes as he searched frantically. Then a small hand brushed against his arm. Rowan grabbed it and pulled Toby to the surface, holding him tight against his chest as the boy coughed and sputtered. "I got you," Rowan gasped, treading water. "I got you, son." Toby clung to him, trembling. "I tried to swim back, Daddy. Grandma said I could do it." Rowan's jaw clenched as he began the long swim back to shore, one arm securing his son while the other fought against the current. By the time his feet touched sand again, his entire body screamed with exhaustion. He carried Toby onto the beach while the family stood watching. Not one of them had attempted to help. "What the hell were you thinking?" Rowan demanded, setting Toby down gently and wrapping him in a towel. Vanessa rolled her eyes. "You're being dramatic. He was fine." "Fine." He was being pulled out to sea. Rowan checked Toby for any signs of injury or secondary drowning. "He could have died." "Don't exaggerate," Dolores said coolly. "Children need to learn independence. You coddle him too much." "Independence? He's 7 years old." Lionel stepped between them. "Look, maybe we all need to calm down and—" "Don't tell me to calm down." Rowan's voice dropped dangerously low. "My son was drowning while all of you stood here drinking." Adrian cleared his throat. "Vanessa said the boy's a strong swimmer." Rowan turned to Vanessa, a sickening realization dawning on him. She wouldn't meet his eyes. "We're leaving," Rowan said finally, picking up Toby. "Now, don't be ridiculous," Vanessa protested. "The party's just started. Put him down for a nap if he's tired." Rowan looked at his wife, really looked at her, and something inside him shifted. The woman he'd married, or thought he'd married, wasn't there anymore. Maybe she never had been. "Daddy," Toby whispered against his shoulder. "It's okay, buddy," Rowan murmured. "We're going home." As he carried his son away from the beach, he felt 5 pairs of eyes boring into his back. None of them moved to follow. It was as if his son's life meant nothing to them. That thought crystallized in that moment, sharp and clear as a diamond. These people were poison. The house was quiet when Vanessa finally returned home around midnight. Rowan sat in the darkened living room, a single lamp casting long shadows across the floor. Toby was asleep upstairs, having finally stopped trembling 2 hours after the incident. "You're still up," Vanessa said, dropping her purse on the entryway table. Her tone suggested inconvenience rather than concern. "We need to talk." Rowan's voice was steady, controlled. Vanessa sighed dramatically. "Can it wait until morning? I'm exhausted. Your son almost drowned today." "Our son is fine." She kicked off her sandals. "Mother thinks you're overreacting to make her look bad." Rowan leaned forward. "Is that what you think too?" "I think you've always had a problem with my family." She poured herself a glass of water, not looking at him. "You've never been grateful for everything they've done for us." "Done for us?" Rowan stood. "Like what?" "Undermining my career, undermining my relationship with my son. Or maybe you mean trying to drown him." Vanessa slammed the glass down. "That's absurd. It was an accident." "Was it?" "Because from where I stood, it looked like Dolores deliberately sent him out there and then stopped anyone from helping him." "You weren't even there," she spat. "You were off playing grill master." "I was gone for 5 minutes, Vanessa. 5 minutes, and you let your mother take our son into dangerous waters." Vanessa crossed her arms. "Toby is fine. Why can't you let this go?" The realization hit Rowan like a physical blow. He stepped back, studying his wife's face. "You don't care," he said quietly. "You genuinely don't care that he could have died." "Of course I care," she snapped, but her eyes shifted away. "No, you don't." Rowan's voice hardened. "You never wanted to be a mother, did you?" A flicker of something, truth, perhaps, crossed her face before she masked it. "That's ridiculous." "Is it? Because I remember how you fought for custody when we first discussed separation 2 years ago. I thought it was because you loved him. But it wasn't, was it? You just didn't want me to have him. You're twisting everything. Vanessa moved toward the stairs. I'm going to bed. Rowan stepped in her path. Answer me, Vanessa. Just once, be honest. Did you ever want to be Toby's mother? The mask slipped just for a moment. A cold, hard look entered her eyes. Being a mother wasn't in my life plan, but neither was marrying someone like you. Someone like me? Rowan asked quietly. Ordinary. She spat the word. Mother warned me, but I thought you'd at least try to become something more than a man who fixes broken boats. Rowan felt strangely calm. And Toby, was he part of your plan? Vanessa looked away. Children happen. In that moment, everything became clear. Their entire marriage, the custody battle that would have followed their divorce, all of it built on Vanessa's pride and spite, not love. Pack a bag for Toby, Rowan said. We're leaving. Vanessa's eyes widened. What? You heard me. I'm taking my son somewhere safe. You can't do that. The house is in my name, my family's name. Keep the house. Keep everything. But Toby comes with me. Vanessa's laugh was brittle. You think I'll just let you take him? My family has connections, judges, lawyers. You just admitted you never wanted to be a mother. Rowan interrupted. Think carefully about what happens next. A calculating look crossed her features. If you leave with him, I'll call the police. Report a kidnapping. Go ahead. Rowan headed up the stairs. And when they arrive, I'll tell them how your family endangered our son today, how you admitted you never wanted him. We'll see who they believe. He packed quickly, taking only what they needed. Toby stirred when Rowan lifted him from bed. Daddy, he mumbled sleepily. We're going on a trip, buddy, Rowan whispered, wrapping him in a blanket. Go back to sleep. Downstairs, Vanessa stood by the door, arms crossed. This isn't over, Rowan. Yeah, he said, shifting Toby in his arms. It is. For what it's worth, I did love you once. Her face hardened. You'll regret this. No, Rowan said with certainty. I won't. As he walked out to his truck and secured Toby in the back seat, a weight lifted from his shoulders. The marriage had been broken for years, but he'd stayed for Toby, thinking a boy needed both parents. Now he understood. A boy needed love and protection, not a mother who saw him as an inconvenience. He glanced back at the house one last time before driving away. Vanessa stood in the doorway, illuminated by the hall light, her phone already pressed to her ear. Let her call whoever she wanted. Rowan would protect his son, no matter what. Jonas Rhodes's weathered face broke into a grim expression as he slid the legal documents across the table. It's not good, Rowan. 3 days had passed since Rowan and Toby had left. They were staying in Jonas's guest house, a small but comfortable space that had become their temporary refuge. As a former Marine who'd served alongside Rowan in Afghanistan, Jonas was the one person Rowan trusted implicitly. How bad? Rowan asked, eyeing the papers but not touching them. She's filed for divorce, full custody, and an emergency order requiring you to return Toby immediately. Rowan's jaw tightened. On what grounds? Abandonment, emotional instability, inability to provide adequate housing. Jonas ticked off the accusations on his fingers, plus a claim that you've exhibited concerning behavior since your military discharge. That's bull. Rowan caught himself glancing toward the backyard, where Toby was playing with Jonas's golden retriever. That's nonsense. It is, Jonas agreed. But Vanessa's mother has connections. Judge Patterson is presiding, and he golfs with Dolores's husband's old friends twice a month. Rowan ran a hand over his face. Can we fight it? We can and will. I've got motions ready to request a different judge, and we'll file a counterpetition with evidence of what happened at the beach. What evidence? It's my word against theirs, and there were 5 of them. Jonas leaned forward. Tell me exactly what happened, beginning to end. Don't leave anything out. Rowan recounted the events in detail. The beach party, stepping away to change the propane tank, returning to find Toby missing, the rescue, and finally Vanessa's admission that she'd never wanted to be a mother. Jonas took notes, occasionally asking clarifying questions. When Rowan finished, Jonas nodded slowly. We have options. First, we document every injury Toby sustained, even minor scratches or bruises from the incident. Second, we get phone records showing your exact location during the incident. Third, we search for witnesses, other beachgoers, maybe someone with a camera or drone. And if that's not enough, Jonas's expression darkened. We dig deeper into the Weston family. People like that always have secrets. The temporary hearing came faster than expected. Just 5 days after receiving the paperwork, Rowan found himself sitting in a wood-paneled courtroom, watching Judge Patterson review the file with barely concealed bias. Your Honor, Jonas began, we request this case be reassigned due to your personal relationship with... Motion denied. Patterson interrupted, without looking up. I'm capable of being impartial, Counselor. The hearing proceeded with mechanical efficiency. Vanessa took the stand first, her testimony a masterclass in manipulation. I've always been the primary caretaker, she said, dabbing at non-existent tears. Rowan works long hours restoring boats. Sometimes he doesn't come home until after Toby's asleep. And the incident at the beach? Her attorney prompted. There was no incident, Vanessa said firmly. Toby was swimming near the shore. Rowan overreacted. One of his episodes. Since returning from overseas, he's been unpredictable. Dolores' testimony followed the same narrative, with added embellishment. Rowan threatened my daughter when she suggested he seek help. He said, I'll take him where you'll never find us. We feared for Toby's safety. When it was Rowan's turn, he spoke plainly, describing exactly what had happened and why he'd left with Toby. Mr. Weston, Judge Patterson interrupted. Are you suggesting that your wife and her entire family deliberately endangered your son? Yes, Your Honor, Rowan replied. That's exactly what I'm saying. And you have evidence of this. My son was found drifting far from shore. He had water in his lungs. One of his flotation devices was deflated. Children often swim out too far, Mr. Weston. It happens. With all due respect, Judge, my 7-year-old son doesn't swim into dangerous waters without encouragement. Someone sent him out there. Patterson's gaze hardened. That's a serious accusation against the child's mother and grandmother. It's the truth, Rowan insisted. The truth, Mr. Weston, is that you removed a child from his home without permission, refused to return him when asked, and are now making wild accusations to justify your actions. The ruling came swiftly after closing arguments. Vanessa was awarded temporary full custody, with Rowan granted supervised visitation twice a week. Additionally, Patterson continued, Mr. Weston will undergo a psychological evaluation before the final custody determination. Rowan's hands gripped the table so hard his knuckles turned white. Beside him, Jonas placed a warning hand on his arm. Your Honor, Jonas began, we intend to appeal this ruling immediately. That's your right, Counselor, Patterson said, gathering his papers. But until then, the order stands. Mr. Weston will return the child to Mrs. Weston today. Outside the courtroom, Rowan struggled to contain his rage. They're going to take him. After what they did. This is temporary, Jonas assured him. We'll file the appeal, gather more evidence, and in the meantime, Toby goes back to them. Rowan's voice cracked. I'm sorry, Rowan. That's how it works, for now. The handover took place at the courthouse under a bailiff's supervision. Toby clung to Rowan, confusion on his small face. Why can't I stay with you, Daddy? Rowan knelt, meeting his son's eyes. It's just for a little while, buddy. The judge, he made a mistake. But we're going to fix it. I don't want to go with Mommy. She doesn't read me stories like you do. I know. Rowan fought to keep his voice steady. But I'll see you real soon. Tuesday, okay. We'll go to the park. Toby's bottom lip trembled. Promise. I promise. Rowan hugged him tightly. breathing in the scent of his hair. "And Toby, remember what I taught you. If you're ever scared or need help, what do? Call you or call 911. Toby recited. "That's right. You're the bravest boy I know." Vanessa approached, her victory barely concealed behind a mask of concern. "Time to go, Toby. We have to get you settled back home." Rowan stood, keeping one hand on Toby's shoulder. "He has a life-threatening allergy to shellfish. His EpiPen is in the front pocket of his backpack. His inhaler. I know how to take care of my son." Vanessa interrupted coldly. Rowan met her gaze without flinching. "No, you don't." As they walked away, Toby looked back, his small hand raised in a wave. Rowan waved back, maintaining composure until they were out of sight. Then he turned to Jonas, a dangerous calm settling over him. "I want everything you can find on the Weston family. Every skeleton, every dirty secret, every weakness. Rowan, they took my son, Jonas, after they nearly killed him." His voice was devoid of emotion. "I will ruin them. Every last one." Rowan's new apartment was sparse, a one-bedroom with a pull-out couch for when Toby visited. The walls remained bare except for a large corkboard dominating one side of the living room. On it, Rowan had meticulously arranged information about the Weston family, news clippings, photographs, financial records, and sticky notes with questions and connections. "This is getting obsessive," Jonas remarked, setting down a stack of files on the kitchen counter. "Have you slept at all?" "I'll sleep when Toby's safe," Rowan replied, not looking up from his laptop. 2 weeks had passed since the court hearing. Rowan had seen Toby twice for supervised visits, each one cutting him deeper than any wound he'd sustained in combat. His son was withdrawing, growing quieter. At their last visit, Toby had whispered that Grandma Dolores told him not to talk too much to Daddy because he might get upset again. "I brought what you asked for," Jonas said, tapping the files. Property records, business filings, and old court cases involving the family. Rowan finally looked up. "Anything useful?" "Maybe. Dolores's husband, Arnold Weston, was sued 3 times for fraud before his death. All cases dismissed by friendly judges." Not surprised, Rowan took the files. "What about Vanessa's gambling? Any paper trail?" "Nothing concrete yet, but I found something interesting about Dolores." Jonas pulled out a particular folder. "She has a sister she never mentions, Ruth Lawson. They had some kind of falling out decades ago." Rowan's interest peaked. "Where is she now?" "Living in a modest house about 40 miles north. Retired schoolteacher. Husband died 5 years ago." "I need to talk to her." "Already arranged it," Jonas said, smiling grimly. "She was eager to meet you once I mentioned Dolores's name." The drive to Ruth Lawson's home took them through a quiet countryside that gradually gave way to a small coastal town. Her house sat on a bluff overlooking the ocean, modest compared to the Weston mansion, but well-maintained, with a garden of colorful wildflowers bordering the walkway. Ruth herself was Dolores's opposite in every way. Where Dolores was rigid and cold, Ruth had a warmth that put Rowan at ease. Her silver hair was pulled into a loose bun, and laugh lines crinkled around her eyes as she welcomed them. "So you're the man who married into the Weston circus," she said, ushering them into a sunlit living room. "Brave soul. Thank you for agreeing to meet us, Mrs. Lawson," Rowan said. "Ruth, please. And I've been waiting 30 years for someone to come asking questions about my dear sister." The sarcasm in her voice was unmistakable. "Tea." Once they were settled with steaming mugs, Ruth studied Rowan with shrewd eyes. "Your friend here says Dolores is trying to take your son." "Yes. She and my wife have temporary custody. I'm fighting to get him back. And you think I have information that might help?" "I hope so," Rowan admitted. "I need to understand who I'm up against." Ruth nodded slowly. "Well, you're certainly up against something. The Weston family has built their reputation on appearances, but underneath," she trailed off, then set down her tea with a decisive clink. Let me tell you about my sister. What followed was a story Rowan could scarcely believe. According to Ruth, Dolores had given birth to a child before Vanessa, a son, born when Dolores was just 20. This was in the late 1970s, Ruth explained. Dolores had just married Arnold Weston. The pregnancy wasn't planned, and Dolores, she was never the maternal type. What happened to the child? Jonas asked. Ruth's expression darkened. Officially, he vanished during a family trip to the coast when he was 5 years old. A tragic accident, they said. The poor child wandered off and presumably drowned, though they never found his body. And unofficially, Rowan pressed, unofficially, my sister never wanted that boy. She resented how he limited her social life, how his existence reminded her that she was a mother before she was ready. Ruth's hands trembled slightly. The day before he disappeared, Dolores called me, asking if I would take him. Just take him and raise him as my own. What did you say? Rowan asked quietly. I said yes, of course. I couldn't have children of my own. And that boy, he was a sweet child. But when I arrived the next day to pick him up, Dolores told me he was gone, missing. The police were already there. The implications hung heavy in the air. You think she... Jonas began. I think Dolores Weston is capable of terrible things when they serve her interests, Ruth said firmly. And I think no one has ever held her accountable. Rowan leaned forward. Is there anything concrete? Evidence, witnesses, anything that could be used in court? After 30 years, not much. But I kept everything from that time. Ruth stood and crossed to an old secretary desk in the corner. From a locked drawer, she withdrew a small box. Newspaper clippings about the disappearance, the few photos I have of the boy, and this. She handed Rowan a cassette tape. What's this? A recording of Dolores's call, asking me to take her son. I was in the habit of recording important calls back then. My memory was never great. Ruth's eyes hardened. On this tape, my sister says, and I quote, I can't do this anymore, Ruth. Sometimes I look at him and think about just letting him go, just walking away while he's playing near the water. End quote. Rowan's blood ran cold at the parallel to Toby's incident. Does she know you have this? Jonas asked. No. After the boy disappeared, I tried to tell the police about the call, but Dolores denied it ever happened. Arnold's money and influence made sure I wasn't taken seriously. Ruth's voice grew bitter. They painted me as the jealous sister trying to cause trouble. After that, I cut all ties with Dolores and Vanessa. What about Vanessa? Rowan asked. She was born a year after the boy disappeared. Dolores's do-over child, raised to be the perfect Weston heir. Ruth shook her head. That poor girl never had a chance to be anything but her mother's creation. Back at his apartment, Rowan added the new information to his corkboard, connecting threads between Dolores's past and present. As he worked, his phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. Toby asking for you. Cannot sleep. Crying. Vanessa left for girls' night. The message was from Bertha, the Weston family's longtime housekeeper. She had slipped Rowan her number during his last supervised visit, her worried eyes communicating what she couldn't say aloud. Rowan immediately called Jonas. I need you to go to the Emerald Dunes Casino tonight. Take photos if Vanessa is there. On it. He then replied to Bertha. Tell him Daddy loves him. I'm working on bringing him home. Does he have his teddy? The response came quickly. No. Dolores took it. Said he's too old for childish things. Fury surged through Rowan. That teddy bear had been Toby's comfort since infancy. Please check my old closet. Top shelf. Blue box. Spare teddy inside. Emergency backup. 3 nerve-wracking minutes passed before Bertha replied. Found it. Giving it to him now. He says thank you. A small victory, but it fueled Rowan's resolve. He turned back to the corkboard, focusing on a new target. Adrian Doyle. Vanessa's ex-boyfriend, who had been at the beach that day. What was his role in all of this? And why was he suddenly back in Vanessa's life? Tomorrow, Rowan would find out. Clearwater Marina gleamed in the morning sun, boats gently bobbing in their slips as Rowan made his way down the dock. His restoration workshop occupied a converted boathouse at the far end, a space that had once been his sanctuary. Now, it was simply where he worked between battles. His phone buzzed with a message from Jonas. Photos from last night attached. Jackpot. Rowan opened the files and smiled grimly. Clear images of Vanessa at the gambling tables, stacks of chips before her. In one shot, she was arguing with a pit boss. In another, she was on her phone, face twisted with frustration. Timestamps. He texted back. 10:30 p.m. to 3:45 a.m. Casino staff confirmed she's a regular, often plays until closing. Perfect, Rowan replied. He pocketed his phone as a familiar figure approached his workshop. Adrian Doyle, dressed in expensive casual wear that looked out of place among the working boats. Rowan, Adrian called with false joviality. Got a minute? Depends what it's for. Rowan continued unlocking his workshop. I thought we should talk. Man to man. Nothing to talk about. I disagree. Vanessa's worried about you. We all are. Rowan pushed open the door. I'm fine. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work to do. This custody battle is pointless, you know. Adrian followed him inside, uninvited. The Weston family always wins. Rowan set down his tools with deliberate care. Is that why you're here? To deliver a message. I'm here to offer a solution. A way out that benefits everyone. I'm listening. Adrian glanced around the workshop with thinly veiled disdain. Withdraw your custody petition. Accept whatever visitation they offer. In exchange, Dolores will set up a trust fund for Toby that you'll co-manage. So I should sell my son for money. Don't be dramatic. You'd still see him, but without all this. Adrian gestured vaguely. Unpleasantness. Rowan studied him carefully. What's your stake in this, Adrian? Why do you care who gets custody of my son? Something flickered in Adrian's eyes. Discomfort, perhaps. I care about Vanessa. Always have. And yet she married me. A mistake she's correcting. Adrian's composure slipped slightly. Look, be smart about this. You can't win against them, even if you find some dirt. And I know you're digging. They have more resources, more connections. Rowan stepped closer. You seem nervous, Adrian. Why is that? Don't threaten me, Rowan. I'm trying to help you. No, you're trying to protect something. Or someone. Rowan's eyes narrowed. Tell me, how long after Vanessa and I met did you start dating her again? Adrian blanched. That's none of your business. It is if you were seeing my wife while we were married. This conversation is over. Adrian turned to leave. One more thing, Rowan called after him. Tell Dolores. I know about her first son. Adrian froze, his back to Rowan. What? The boy who disappeared. Tell her I know, and I'm getting closer to the full story. Adrian left without another word, but his reaction told Rowan everything he needed to know. Adrian was more deeply involved with the Weston family than he'd let on, and the mention of Dolores's lost son had struck a nerve. By noon, Rowan had formulated his first offensive. The photos of Vanessa gambling needed to be leveraged, but not in the obvious way. A direct confrontation in court would allow them time to prepare a defense. No, this required a different approach. He met Jonas at a coffee shop well away from their usual haunts. I want to get this to a news outlet, Rowan explained, sliding a USB drive across the table. Anonymous source, of course. Jonas picked up the drive. Local station or statewide? Local. The gossip factor will be higher. And what exactly is on here? Photos of Vanessa gambling until dawn while Toby cries for his teddy bear. Financial records showing large cash withdrawals from her accounts, corresponding with her casino trips. And a recording of her from our last supervised visit, where she complains about having to waste an afternoon with Toby instead of meeting friends. Jonas raised an eyebrow. How did you get that? Recorded on my phone. The supervisor stepped out for a call and Vanessa started complaining to someone on hers. I hit record. Smart, but risky. Everything's risky at this point. Rowan leaned forward. This isn't just about creating scandal. It's about forcing their hand. What do you mean? Right now, they're in control, pulling strings with judges. This changes the narrative, makes them defensive. And when people get defensive, they make mistakes. Jonas nodded. Got it. 3 days later, the local news broke the story. Weston Harris's secret gambling problem. Sources allege neglect as mother gambles through the night. The piece was carefully crafted to appear concerned rather than salacious, raising questions about Vanessa's fitness as a parent while hinting at financial troubles within the formerly untouchable Weston family. The reaction was swift and predictable. Vanessa called Rowan in a rage, threatening further legal action for defamation. Lionel and Ingrid made public statements defending Vanessa, while carefully avoiding the specific allegations. Dolores went silent, which worried Rowan more than an angry tirade. His supervised visit with Toby that weekend was tense. The court-appointed supervisor watched them more closely than usual, noting every interaction. "Hey, buddy," Rowan said, hugging his son tightly. "How have you been?" Toby glanced nervously at the supervisor before answering. "Okay, I guess. Grandma's been really mad." "About what?" "She says people are telling lies about Mommy, that you're behind it." Rowan chose his words carefully. Sometimes adults disagree about things. "But none of that is your fault. And it doesn't change how much I love you." They spent the afternoon building a model boat, something simple they could complete in the allotted 2 hours. As they worked, Toby gradually relaxed, becoming more like his old self. "Daddy," he asked as they were painting the hull, "is it true you might not be my real dad?" The question hit Rowan like a punch to the gut. "Who told you that?" "I heard Grandma telling Mommy that maybe they should tell me the truth about my father." "What does that mean?" Rowan set down his paintbrush, turning Toby to face him. "Listen to me, Toby. I am your father in every way that matters. I've been there since the day you were born, held you when you were sick, taught you to ride a bike. And I will always, always be your dad, understand?" Toby nodded, but worry still clouded his face. "But what if?" "No what ifs," Rowan said firmly. "You're my son, period." After the visit, as Rowan headed to his truck, Lionel intercepted him in the parking lot. "You got a lot of nerve," Lionel said, blocking Rowan's path. "That news story, low, even for you." "I have no idea what you're talking about," Rowan replied coolly. "Now move. This ends now. Drop the custody case, or things will get much worse for you." "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise." Lionel stepped closer. "You think you know the Weston family. You have no idea what we're capable of." "Actually, I'm getting a pretty clear picture." Rowan didn't back down. "Tell Dolores her secret's not safe anymore. People are talking." "What secret?" Lionel's confusion seemed genuine. "Ask your mother about her firstborn son." Rowan watched realization dawn on Lionel's face. "That's right. I know." Lionel's composure cracked. "You're making a mistake." "No, your family made the mistake when they put my son in danger." Rowan stepped around him. "And now you're all going to pay for it." Lionel grabbed Rowan's arm. "Listen, you." Rowan reacted instinctively, pivoting and driving his fist directly into Lionel's nose. Blood spurted as the man stumbled backward, hands clutching his face. "You broke my nose." Lionel's voice was nasal, stunned. "Be grateful that's all I broke." Rowan straightened his jacket. "Tell your family, this is just the beginning." As he drove away, Rowan knew the confrontation would have consequences, but the look on Lionel's face when he mentioned Dolores' son had been worth it. The first strike had landed. It was time for the second. Rain pelted the windows of Rowan's apartment as he hunched over his laptop, scrolling through digitized newspaper archives from 1979. 3 weeks had passed since the news story on Vanessa's gambling. The aftermath had been predictable. Public denials from the Westons, legal maneuvers, and a fresh restraining order preventing Rowan from coming within 500 feet of the Weston home. He still had supervised visits with Toby, now in a sterile downtown office. Seeing his son was the highlight of each week, even under watchful eyes. The rest of Rowan's time was consumed by his investigation into Dolores's past. The more he dug, the more convinced he became that the key to toppling the Westons lay in the fate of that missing boy. A knock at the door interrupted his research. Jonas entered, shaking rain from his coat. "Any luck?" he asked, glancing at the laptop screen. "Maybe." Rowan turned the computer so Jonas could see. "I found an article about a missing 5-year-old boy from August 1979. The description matches what Ruth told us about Dolores's son." Jonas leaned closer to read. "Lucas Weston, age 5, disappeared while on vacation with family at Heron Bay. Presumed drowned, though no body was recovered." He looked up. "This is definitely him." "Keep reading," Rowan said. "Extensive search efforts, mother distraught, father offering reward." Jonas paused. "Wait, there's a quote here from the detective in charge. Certain aspects of this case are troubling. We're looking into all possibilities." "Exactly." Rowan pulled up another article. Then this one. 3 weeks later, investigation suddenly closed. Lucas is officially declared a drowning victim, despite no body. The detective who made that statement was transferred to another jurisdiction. "You think they buried the investigation?" "I know they did." Rowan stood, walking to his corkboard. "I tracked down the detective, Jim Coulson. He's retired now, living about 2 hours north. I've been trying to get in touch with him. And he finally called me back this morning. He's willing to meet." The drive to Jim Coulson's remote cabin took Rowan and Jonas through winding mountain roads, slick with rain. The retired detective had chosen a life far from civilization, perhaps to escape whatever he'd witnessed during his career. Coulson himself was a weathered man in his 70s, with sharp eyes that belied his age. He answered the door with a shotgun casually held in one hand. "Rowan Weston?" he asked, glancing between both men. "It's just Rowan or Rowan Denning, if you prefer. I never took the Weston name." Coulson nodded as if this confirmed something. "Smart man. Come in." The cabin was sparse but comfortable, with fishing trophies and old photographs adorning the walls. Coulson set the shotgun aside but kept it within reach as he offered them coffee. "So," he said once they were settled, "you want to know about Lucas Weston?" "Yes," Rowan confirmed. "I believe his disappearance is connected to something happening now with my son." Coulson's sharp gaze flicked to Jonas, then back to Rowan. "I did my homework on you before agreeing to this meeting. Marine, boat restorer, custody battle with the Weston family. History repeating itself, by the sound of it. Then you know why I'm here. I need to understand what really happened to Lucas." Coulson was quiet a long moment, staring into his coffee as if seeing the past reflected there. "I was a young detective back then, eager, idealistic. The Weston case should have made my career." His laugh was bitter. "Instead, it nearly ended it." "What happened?" Jonas prompted. "Official story. 5-year-old boy wandered off while the family was picnicking by the shore. Tragic accident." Coulson set down his mug with a thunk. But right from the start, things didn't add up. "What things?" Rowan asked. "Small inconsistencies in the parents' statements. The fact that no one saw the boy near the water. Mostly, the mother's behavior. Dolores Weston. In my 27 years of police work, I never saw a mother less distressed about a missing child. She went through the motions, but there was nothing real behind it. No genuine fear, no desperate hope. She was playing a role. Did you suspect foul play?" "I did. Started looking deeper into the family dynamics. Interviewed staff, neighbors, extended family. built a picture of a mother who resented her child, who saw him as an impediment. And then I was called into my captain's office, told the case was being reassigned. When I protested, I saw a letter accusing me of misconduct, harassment of the victims, pursuing unfounded theories. Coulson's face darkened with old anger. Next day, I was transferred. The Weston case was officially closed a week later. They buried it, Jonas said. That's what money and influence can do. Coulson stood, crossing to an old filing cabinet. But I never stopped looking, not officially, of course, but in my spare time, following hunches, calling in favors. He withdrew a thick folder and handed it to Rowan. Everything I collected about Lucas Weston, including something I think you'll find very interesting. Rowan opened the folder. On top was a newspaper clipping from 1980, almost a year after Lucas's disappearance. Mystery boy found on beach, adopted by local couple. What is this? Rowan asked. 3 counties north of Heron Bay. A boy was found wandering alone on a beach. No memory of how he got there. No ID. Estimated age 6. Timing fits. Physical description fits. Coulson tapped the article. By the time I found this connection, the boy had been legally adopted by the Grayson family. New name, new life. You think this is him? That he survived somehow? I think Dolores Weston took her unwanted son to a remote beach, left him there to die, and by some miracle, he survived. Coulson's voice was hard. I had no authority to disrupt that adoption, especially with no concrete proof. What was his new name? Rowan asked, already suspecting the answer. Noah Grayson. He's in his mid-40s now, I believe. Works as an environmental engineer. Last I heard, he was in Greenport. Jonas studied Coulson. What do you think Rowan should do with this information? I'm not here to tell you what to do, Coulson replied. But if Dolores nearly did this to your son, you deserve the truth. Just watch your back. The search for Noah Grayson proved easier than expected. As an environmental engineer specializing in coastal projects, he had a public profile. Within days, Rowan located him at a small consulting firm in Greenport. Getting a meeting, however, was more delicate. Rowan couldn't simply walk in and announce that Noah was Dolores Weston's long-lost son. Instead, he arranged a consultation under the pretext of seeking expertise for a marina restoration project. It wasn't entirely a lie. Rowan's boathouse did need updating. The meeting was set for the following Tuesday. Rowan arrived at Coastal Environmental Solutions right on time, waiting in the reception area. He studied the framed photographs on the wall. Shoreline projects, team photos, and community awards. In several of them, a lean man, presumably Noah, bore a subtle but unmistakable resemblance to Dolores. The same strong jaw, the same arch of the eyebrows. Yet there was warmth in Noah's eyes that Dolores lacked. Mr. Denning, the receptionist said. Mr. Grayson will see you now. Noah's office was neat but lived in, with nautical charts and environmental surveys covering one wall. He rose from behind his desk, extending a hand. Mr. Denning, I'm Noah Grayson. Pleasure to meet you. Please, call me Rowan. He took the offered chair. Thank you for seeing me. Yes, I'm interested in restoring an old marina to modern environmental standards. For 20 minutes, they discussed coastal engineering, runoff management, and permitting requirements. Noah was knowledgeable and passionate. Occasionally, he sketched diagrams to illustrate complex concepts. As their scheduled time drew to a close, Rowan knew he had to make his move. There's another reason I'm here, Rowan said quietly, setting aside the marina plans. It's about your past. Your early childhood, specifically. Noah's posture stiffened slightly. I'm afraid I don't understand. Rowan took a deep breath. What do you know about your life before the Graysons adopted you? A long silence. I think you should leave, Noah said at last. Please, just hear me out. Rowan reached for a folder of documents. I know you were found wandering alone on a beach in 1980. No memory, no ID. That was just a year after a 5-year-old boy named Lucas Weston disappeared. His mother, Dolores Weston, disliked children. She nearly succeeded in drowning my 7-year-old son the same way she tried to end your life. Noah's hand moved toward his phone. I'm calling security. She left you there. Noah. Rowan pushed on, voice urgent. 30 years later, she tried to do it again to my Toby. And I have the proof. Noah's hand froze. What did you say? Rowan exhaled. Dolores Weston is your biological mother. The same woman who abandoned you on a beach. You survived. My son almost didn't. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Noah let his hand drop from the phone. How do you know this? A retired detective never believed the official story. A family member kept a recording of Dolores, saying she'd rather let him go than keep him. We have a DNA link, an age match, even physical resemblances. You deserve to know the truth. Noah stared at the documents Rowan slid across the desk. Why come to me now? Because I'm fighting for custody of my son against the Weston family. They've used their money and influence to take him away, just like they used it to bury what happened to you. You have a right to decide what comes next. Noah opened the folder slowly, his eyes scanning the pages. I need time to think, he said at last. Of course. Rowan stood, placing his card on the desk. Call me when you're ready. As he turned to leave, Noah asked quietly, Your son, his name? Toby, Rowan answered. He's 7, smart, kind, loves boats, just like his dad. Noah's expression softened. And he's with the Westons now. Yes. Court mandated, despite what they did. Noah nodded slowly. I'll be in touch. 2 tense days passed. Bertha reported that Dolores had been like a ghost since Rowan's confrontation with Adrian, locked in her study, shredding old documents, making calls in hushed tones. Lionel and Ingrid had mysteriously left town on urgent business, and Adrian was practically living at the Weston mansion. Yet there was no direct move from Dolores. Then on the morning the paternity results were due, because Dolores had convinced Vanessa to force a test, Rowan received a call from Lakeside Medical. Mr. Denning. This is Dr. Reynolds calling about your paternity test results. Rowan's heart hammered in his chest. Yes. The results show a 99.9% probability that you are the biological father of Toby Weston. Relief flooded him so powerfully he had to sit. You're certain? We ran the test twice to be sure, given the circumstances. Rowan thanked her and immediately called Jonas. As they spoke, another text came through from an unknown number. Courthouse. 2 p.m. Judge Watkins presiding. Emergency hearing requested by V. Weston. What's this about? Jonas wondered. They can't contest the DNA results already. I don't know, Rowan admitted. But be ready for anything. They arrived at the courthouse early, finding the atmosphere unusually tense. Court officers stood at attention, and several police officers were present, not typical for family court. Judge Watkins, not Patterson, called the session to order. Rowan noted that Vanessa was present, looking pale and shaken, but Dolores, Lionel, and Ingrid were nowhere to be seen. This is an unusual proceeding, Watkins said, addressing the court. Late last night, my office received a request for an emergency hearing from Mrs. Vanessa Weston, along with disturbing information that may impact the custody arrangements of minor child Toby Weston. Vanessa's attorney stood. Your Honor, my client wishes to withdraw her petition for full custody and consent to Mr. Rowan Denning having primary custody of their son, effective immediately. A murmur swept the courtroom. Rowan exchanged a stunned glance with Jonas. That's quite a reversal, Counselor, Judge Watkins noted. May I ask what prompted this change? New information has come to light regarding the child's safety in the Weston household, the attorney said, looking uncomfortable. Mrs. Weston believes Toby would be better protected in his father's care. And Mrs. Dolores Weston? Judge Watkins asked. She was quite involved in the previous hearings. My client no longer wishes to reside with her mother. The attorney cleared his throat. She has moved to a separate residence as of this morning. Judge Watkins studied Vanessa carefully. Mrs. Weston, is this decision voluntary, without coercion? Vanessa stood, composure visibly fragile. Yes, Your Honor. I made mistakes. Put my trust in the wrong people. I just want my son safe now. Mr. Denning. The judge turned to Rowan. Are you prepared to take custody of your son today? Yes, Your Honor, Rowan answered without hesitation. I've always been ready. Very well. Given the circumstances and Mrs. Weston's consent, I hereby award temporary full custody to Mr. Rowan Denning, pending a final hearing 30 days from now. Watkins signed the order decisively. Mrs. Weston will have supervised visitation twice weekly. It was over so quickly, Rowan could hardly process it. As the courtroom cleared, he approached Vanessa, who stood alone by the plaintiff's table. What happened? He asked directly. Yesterday, you were fighting me with everything you had. Today, you give me custody. Why? Vanessa wouldn't meet his eyes. You were right about my mother. About everything. The paternity test came back this morning. Toby is yours. I knew it all along. Curtis, Adrian, was just a contingency plan. Her voice wavered. But when I found out what Mother did to her first son, what she tried to do to Toby, I realized I'd been. I'm a terrible mother, but I didn't know she would hurt him. Rowan searched her face for deception, but found only broken pride. Where is Dolores now? Gone. She left last night, emptied her accounts, took her passport. Vanessa laughed bitterly. Abandoned me, like she abandoned her first son. Like mother, like daughter, I guess. Lionel and Ingrid fled too. They knew what was coming. The police are investigating now. Some detective from up north reopened the old case. Understanding dawned. Noah went to the police. Vanessa shrugged. Is that his name? My half-brother. Another family secret, revealed too late. Rowan felt no triumph, only weary relief that the battle was finally over. When can I pick up Toby? He's already packed. Bertha helped him. You can go now. I won't be there. She reached into her purse and handed Rowan a house key. As she turned to leave, Rowan called after her. Vanessa, get help, for the gambling, for everything. If not for yourself, do it for Toby. She paused but didn't look back. Goodbye, Rowan. Toby was waiting at the Weston mansion, his small suitcase beside him, Bertha standing protectively nearby. When he saw Rowan, his face lit up. Daddy, are we going home? Toby asked, voice hopeful. Rowan swept him into his arms. Yes, buddy. We're going home. For good. As they drove away, Toby looked back at the mansion, growing smaller in the distance. Will I ever see Mommy again? Yes, Rowan assured him gently. She's going through some things right now, but she loves you. We'll figure it out. And Grandma. Rowan chose his words carefully. Grandma had to go away for a while. A long while. Toby nodded, seemingly unsurprised. She wasn't very nice anyway. From the mouths of children, Rowan thought, sometimes came the clearest truth. He squeezed Toby's shoulder. We're safe now. That's what matters. 6 months passed, bringing the steady rhythms of healing and rebuilding. Rowan and Toby moved into a small house near the marina. Not grand like the Weston mansion, but warm and full of laughter. The final custody hearing had formalized what the emergency order began. Rowan retained full custody, while Vanessa had regular visitation contingent on her therapy and gambling treatment. She had embraced the opportunity for change. Their interactions, once laden with manipulation, had evolved into a cautious co-parenting arrangement. Dolores remained a fugitive, her assets frozen, her reputation in ruins. The reopened investigation into Lucas Weston's disappearance continued, with Detective Coulson brought in as a consultant. Lionel and Ingrid, after fleeing to the Stratton Keys, faced legal troubles when evidence of financial fraud emerged. Adrian Doyle had simply vanished from their lives. Rowan waited at Toby's elementary school gate on a crisp autumn afternoon, watching as his son burst out with his classmates. Toby's face lit up when he spotted Rowan, and he ran over, backpack bouncing. "Dad, guess what? I got an A on my science project." "That's fantastic, buddy." Rowan high-fived him. "Ice cream to celebrate?" "Yes." Toby pumped his fist. "Can we invite Uncle Noah? He helped me with the ocean part." "Sure. I'll give him a call." Noah had become a fixture in their lives, an unexpected ally, and then family. For Toby, he was the cool uncle who knew everything about the ocean. For Rowan, he was a man who understood firsthand the Weston's capacity for harm and the importance of breaking that cycle. They met Noah at a beachside ice cream shop, where he was waiting with Ruth, another addition to their makeshift family. "There's the scientist." Noah greeted Toby with their elaborate handshake. "Heard you aced that project. All about ocean conservation." Toby confirmed proudly. "The teacher said it was the best in class." "That doesn't surprise me one bit," Ruth said, pulling him into a hug. "You've got the brains and the heart for it." As the sun began to set, painting the sky in gold and crimson, they strolled along the shoreline, cones in hand. Toby ran ahead, chasing seagulls and collecting shells. The adults followed at a leisurely pace, content in the simple joy of the moment. "He's doing well," Noah observed. "The nightmares are less frequent," Rowan replied. "His therapist says he's processing it all really well." "Children are resilient," Ruth said softly, "especially when they're loved." They watched Toby splash at the water's edge, confident and joyful, so different from the fearful child who had returned from the Weston mansion 6 months earlier. "Any word on Dolores?" Noah asked quietly. "Nothing concrete. Last sighting was in Corvallia, but the trail went cold. She can't hurt us anymore." Rowan looked toward Toby. "And Vanessa? Yesterday's visit?" "Better than expected," Rowan admitted. "She brought photos of her own childhood, wanted Toby to understand that part of his history. She's trying in her way." Their conversation paused as Toby came running back, hand outstretched, proudly displaying a perfect sand dollar. "Look what I found." "That's a beauty," Noah admired. "Good eye, kiddo." "I'm keeping it forever," Toby declared. "For my collection." They continued along the shore, Toby slipping his small hand into Rowan's. "Dad, are we happy now?" The simple question caught Rowan off guard. He looked down at his son, this brave, resilient boy who had endured so much, and felt a surge of emotion. "Yes, buddy," he said softly. "We're happy now." "Good." Toby nodded with the certainty of childhood. "'Cause I like our new family better, even if it's smaller." Rowan exchanged glances with Noah and Ruth, the three of them bound by truth and healing rather than blood or name. "Sometimes smaller is stronger," Rowan told his son. "And this family. Nothing will ever break it apart." As the sun dipped below the horizon, Toby raced ahead, laughter echoing over the sand. Vanessa had once accused Rowan of being ordinary. Standing here now, with the only thing that mattered truly saved, Rowan realized there was immense power in what some called ordinary. Ordinary love, ordinary courage, ordinary persistence. Sometimes victory wasn't measured in destruction, but in rebuilding. And in the end, Toby's laughter was the only triumph Rowan needed.